So we are back, and I am joined by a very, very, very special guest. Goes by the name Chaim Andler. Coach is a guy that I've known for a good amount of time now. Just being in the training space, in the off season development space. He's someone that has a pretty good following. Number one, he's a very hardworking coach. He's a young, energetic coach that is very driven, I would say. And no, he's not paying me to say that. He's just someone that I've always seen, always give his best effort. His clients are always extremely pleased with his work and his efforts. So obviously, I'm going to introduce Coach, but I want to give him a chance also to talk a little bit about himself, give his insight on who he is, his hometown, things of that nature. But I'm really excited to have you, Coach, and I thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you, Coach T. Yeah, I'm excited to be on with you. I miss you.
Same.
Terrence was down in my area for, what was it, 5 years or not even?
Uh,
Um,
4 years. 4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
So during that time, even though we were both very busy, we did find times to connect, and I got to work at a couple of his events, a couple of his big events, which was awesome. I worked at that Combine event, and yeah, I'm excited to be on. I'm from Brighton, Mass, and that's where I live now. I try to get out of my house when I can, but quarantine life is making that hard. Um, yeah, I grew up. I'm Jewish, so I grew up and I went to a Jewish private school. Um, I always loved football and basketball. Football we didn't actually have at our school, so I was playing PUEs, and I was considering moving over to high school. And my young athletic career, I did hurt my back, so my athletic career was pretty short. But on the positive side, keep it mostly positive. It allowed me to get into coaching really early. So I've been coaching football really since I was 18 years old, so about 13 years now.
Wow. Wow. And as someone that um, you know, is within your space, and people have different names for it, but essentially it's all season training, right? You obviously do some in season training as well, but you're an asset, you're a resource to the sport coaches, and you know it's funny that injury kind of led you down this path. And I think someone like you would have a better appreciation for the athletes that can do it, the athletes that have that opportunity, right? That was once you, and it was in a way taken away due to injury. And
Hmm.
coaches always say it. It's like, hey, any day could be your last. And I think we're learning that with this kind of pandemic in a way. Like things can change quickly, and the fact that you were able to take that somewhat of a negative and turn it into a positive, and now that's led you down to 13 plus years of coaching is just awesome. So obviously you hit on that in terms of that kind of led you down this path, but what else do you think has inspired you, or who else has inspired you to become a coach?
Yeah, I would say actually, I remember answering this question once upon a time, like, who are the most influential coaches for you? And yeah, I played basketball through my high school career, so it wasn't that
Same.
my career didn't go through high school. It did. And the most influential coaches that I remember were my JV basketball coaches. Um, what I remember about them was they expected a incredible work ethic. It didn't matter if you were the best player on the team or the worst player on the team. And I'd like to think I was one of the best players on the team, but they expected a lot out of me. And when I didn't give that, and I wasn't in the conditioning shape that I needed to be, I was a sophomore. That was the year I played for them, I remember. And, I thought I was pretty good. I mean, I started in the beginning of the year, but they sat my butt on the bench for a while because I wasn't doing what I needed to,
Yeah.
and that really taught me a lesson. And I loved how they treated me as all this. Everyone is all the same, but they expected that high work ethic. They expected that commitment to the team, and they kept those expectations on me. So I really remember my time with them. The other thing is they conditioned the heck out of me, got me into the shape that I needed to be in. And for the most of the kids who either train with me or play for me, because I do coach football still at Milton Academy, I'm known as the conditioning guy. So it clearly stuck with me because it's not like I was, 12 years old being like, hey, look, we're going to run sprints. I
No.
don't think most kids ever feel like
No.
that.
No.
But that single thing is one of the biggest things because I've been able to bring that over to the program at Milton as well as with my program, with my training program. And the kids have really taken to it, and I've seen the difference that it makes. And so now it's like when you come to play for me or you're coming to train for me, that's what you're going to expect. And even if you didn't like it in the beginning, you understand that that's part of the process. And these kids are quicker to accept that now that they understand that that's what's accepted. And we can get into that further, but like when we have our training group, like our high school group, it's incredible. The atmosphere is incredible. I love
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into it. You are the owner, the creator, the top guy at Boston Athletic Training. Again, we want to give people perspective. You're from, let's say, Boston, right? The Boston
Mm-hmm.
area,
Yep.
which is out of New England. And with that, tell us more about Boston Athletic Training, or BAT, as you would say.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been training. So I was coaching again since I was 18, but I started training when I started college, which was 5 years after that. So I started training about 8 years ago. When my buddies mentioned this company called Coach Up, I was already interested in training. I already had one client that played for me in Pop Warner, and he mentioned this company called Coach Up. So give Coach Up a little shout out because that is how I actually started
There
getting
you go.
clients, and I got my first clients from there, clients that I'm still friendly with to this day, 8 years later. But from there, what was happening is over the years, it was slow growth, but I was getting more and more clients. And it got to a point where, between being in college and training, that I realized that, training might actually be potentially a career. See, I always looked at it like, hey, I'm going to do this on the side. I was getting my degree for kinesiology, exercise science, and I figured after that I would be either a PE or a health teacher or maybe an athletic director. Athletic director is actually what I had in my mind because I liked coaching football. I figured I'll coach football and I'll be an AD. It's a great, great life. So actually, I created BAT, I got the name and everything in 2016, but it wasn't my full-time thing by any means. It was really me just creating that name. Now, the name to me is important because it sounds very generic in one sense, but when my buddy was telling me, hey, you should come up with a name for your company and think about like what makes sense, what's true to you, but also like what people will search for. So I'll be quite honest, a lot of it is marketing, right? And it
Smart.
has a good ring to it. Everyone's told me that, but the truth is it is straightforward. It's not personalized to my name, which I'm fine with. And Boston's where I'm from, and I have a lot of pride being from Boston. So that's where BAT came from.
Can't beat it.
And but yeah, as far as like going from where it being a side thing really to where it became my full-time business, and now we have other coaches coming on, was I was in a school. I was teaching PE and health, like I said, and I was an athletic director, and I was a basketball coach. So I had a job where I was really doing all the things that I thought I'd be doing at some point down the line after graduating college.
Hmm.
And I liked it. I was at a charter school. It's a lot of hours, especially being at a charter. It's not your normal or your typical public school day. It was like 10 hours, 11 hours plus planning and prep, and they give you a lot of roles.
Hmm.
And I was still training, and I had a few kids. This was like the winter of I think it was 2017, and I missed football. I'll be quite honest with you. As much
Yeah.
as I love training, I still coach football, and that's probably my biggest passion is coaching football. And I even my kids who train with me know that. I love training. I love working with them, but coaching football has always been my number one. And long story short, um, you know, I decided to leave the school because I couldn't also coach football. That's why I originally left.
Yeah.
they didn't have a football team. We couldn't work it out where I would, in the fall be with my football team, where I could leave school, or it just wasn't going to work out. And I decided to drop it. And when I did it also with the intention of trying to get my company moving, which at the time, it was paying me like $15,000 a year. It was not going to be a career. It was So I had to build it, and well, here we are today.
Yeah. You know what? And first of all, that school, it kind of stinks that they lost what would have been a very valuable asset moving forward. But I think things happen for a reason. And sometimes it's funny when you have to do something, when you have you're backed into a corner, as some would say, you are forced to really showcase what you have and put all your chips on the table and say, hey, like, I'm going for this. And seemingly that's what you did with BAT. And I know, again, from the clients and the people that know you and know your training, Boston Athletic Club, Boston Athletic Training is it's growing, and it's something that is I think on the rise, and it's only going to grow bigger and bigger. And again, you're obviously expanding not only your clientele but also your coaching base. So talk about expanding your coaching side of things, like bringing people on. Do you have any family members? How did you find these guys? Like what happened with that?
Yeah, well, the truth is that's still for sure a work in progress. As far as finding coaches that I think can mesh with the company, the schedule, where we're at with things. Who we've brought on so far, though, like we have coaches who come in and help occasionally. Like I have a coach from Milton who he really just comes out to help because he loves working with the kids. He was a college basketball player, so he's been great to have for certain basketball training that we do. But besides for that, the main coach I brought in was my brother, Coach Ellie. We call him our head strength coach. Now Ellie has a background in personal training. He trained himself. He was able to kind of transform his own physique and learned a lot about the body, understands a lot about the body and how to build strength and size. And I thought that based on where I was trying to go with my high school program, that he made sense for the program to bring in somebody I could trust, but somebody who also knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
From there, he was at a gym, so he actually had another trainer that was interested in kind of doing a little assisting. So I still do, much of the training myself, and I love it. So I will bring other coaches on, especially as we get bigger, but it'll be slowly probably.
Yeah.
Just
Do
to
you
make
find
sure
that
that
hard? Do you find that hard to, have something that, you created, it was you 100% of the time, and then you kind of have to, give a little bit of that up. Was that hard for you to do initially?
It still is. It still is. It is because, like my biggest connection with my clients, is sure we get results. I mean, obviously that's hopefully why people are going to sign up and train with us. And I think that we've been able to prove that with testing numbers, also with where these kids are going to college and stuff like that, or even just making their team, because we work with the kids on all ends of the spectrum. But it was hard because I had this personal relationship with them, and it was basically like me, and that was a big part of my business. Also a big part of why I love this thing is I love talking to the parents. I love talking to the kids. I love working with the kids. So it was me like kind of giving up a lot of my joy in that sense. But, I'm much happier about it now or more comfortable with it now than I would have been before. And I think it's just because, you see the kids succeeding and enjoying working with other coaches. And it's not a competition. My brother, Coach Ellie, is very good at what he does. I want him to be the specialist in his realm. And then I'm hoping to bring on other coaches who are going to be specialists where, instead of me being like, oh, like, am I going to be giving them as good of a trainer? In this case, maybe I'll be giving them a better trainer because you know what? I'm good at some things, but I can't be the best at everything. And I've already accepted that. So yeah, it definitely was harder initially than it is now. The hardest thing now is to try to find a responsible, qualified coach who's willing to do it for a few hours a week, because as we're still growing and I need to really be cognizant of my costs and all that,
Mm-hmm.
I can't just all of a sudden start hiring full-time employees. So that's where I run into some challenges is, can I find a coach who's good at what they're doing, who's responsible, who's also okay with, hey, I might only work 3 hours with you a week.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's definitely harder to find that, but we're working on it, and we have found people like that. One thing I will say that's unique, and I think will be potentially the future is, we have athletes with us that get older who have had a lot of success in their athletic career, and also understand how to train because they work
Mm-hmm.
so much with us. Start to help us train.
Yeah.
Now, to
That's how
me,
the
that's like
network blooms.
and so it's that nice it's that nice connection where you get kids who have done it themselves, had success, play a certain position, can really coach that up, and kids love working with older kids. So it's really been a very positive situation when we've done that in the past, and I'm hoping to do a lot more of that.
Good. Good. Yeah. I mean, I love that, man. You definitely seem like someone that you think ahead, right? You plan
Got it.
things out.
Yep,
It's not just by chance the success you're having. You're definitely someone that seemingly plans step by step what's going to happen. You work to make it happen. So I appreciate that about you, man. And you mentioned it's a business. Like I I know when I was doing my training, a lot of what I would tell parents specifically, as well as the athletes, but more so the parents, I would let them know, hey, like this is a business, and I would run it as such because I feel like transparency is key. Like people want to know, okay, what's your objective, what's your goal, and I think if it's fuzzy for some parents and athletes, they don't really know if they can trust you or not. And yeah, the number one objective was to get the players better because that's always going to number one help them and also help the business. But it's also good to let parents and families know, like, hey, like this is something that I've dedicated my life to. This is something that supports my family. This is something that
right,
I put a lot of time and effort into, and I treat it as a business because it is.
for
And and
sure.
and let's talk about that in terms of it being a business for you. How do you navigate us being quarantined, right?
Mhm.
What things have you done differently to still be able to reach out and help your athletes?
Sure. So I was saying this to a few other people the last couple of weeks. I'm busier now than I've been since, I don't know, a year and a half ago,
Wow.
and I'm not complaining about it. But we've definitely been able to adjust. We're also really fortunate. We have great clients, loyal clients, kids who are really motivated. That's really what it comes down to is who's your clientele. When you work with kids, that the reason you work with them is because they play for a team, and a lot of it's social. Just to be honest with you, if you look at AAU
Mhm.
basketball, a lot of it's social. Well, when that's not available, do those kids train? I'm seeing mostly they don't. I'm seeing
Mhm.
mostly these kids aren't doing anything. It's just my experience. I've talked to other clients, other people. I see what people are posting. I try to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So as far as where we're at is, our success right now is based on, yeah, we offer different things. We offer virtual training and in-person training. We're doing a
Mhm.
lot more one-on-one because people don't want to be in groups, and it's safer to be in one-on-one. We still do run our group sessions with our high school, and we're starting to run it with our youth group. But we have put in place a lot of added rules. So we keep the kids separated. Everything is outdoors. Kids are wearing gloves. Anytime we're using the same equipment, it's getting sprayed in between its use.
I
So
like
we
that.
are we are doing things to try to mitigate the risks, but it does come down to adapting and adapting quick. So like I had people recently ask me like if they should consider starting to run virtual training. And I mean, I don't laugh. I mean, I understand like everybody comes from a different perspective, but we had virtual training running up the very first day. So in Boston, I forget what was the exact date. It was like mid-March, third week of March.
Mhm.
They announced on Monday that by Tuesday at 12 p.m. The next day that all non-essential businesses had to
Yeah.
close. at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, we had a session.
Fast.
And since then, we like through that week, we started to add more kids. And by the following week, about a week later, we were running 2 virtual sessions a day. And at this point, we run, I think it's 14 a week.
Wow.
So we run 14 virtual sessions a week. We run 5 in-person group sessions for our high school group. It's much smaller for sure. And that's okay. We're happy to work with our kids. So we made a decision that we would stay open for outdoor training with those added, safety precautions in place. And then I also started getting hired for a lot of one-on-one training because these kids had nothing else to do. So a lot of my clients who were motivated to train, but they weren't comfortable doing it in a group, they started doing one-on-one. Yeah. So now my plate is completely full because I have 3 clients who do 3 one-on-ones a week. We have the 5 field high school sessions. We have all the virtual training. And that's why I have my brother. My brother's helping me with a lot of this, and that's thank goodness.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we've been able to navigate through it, I think, by you have to adapt. And it sounds tough, but it's adapt or die. And
I mean, let's say I'm a coach and I don't really, I'm not as advanced as maybe you were or as prepared as you were for this scenario. What advice would you have for those coaches?
My advice would be, try to connect with people and spend the time to learn how to utilize the different services that are online. I don't think there's any like secret weapon out here. I use Zoom. Okay, similar to the call we're on. I use Zoom. I signed up for the account. I pay for my account so I can run meetings. It's like, I think it's $15 a month for the service I have. And from there, you share that meeting link that, Zoom gives you. You have to have a password now because they had issues with security. So now we have a password, and you click on it on your computer and you're on. Yeah. And as far as like how I run my sessions or how to run your sessions effectively, it is harder. If you're a sport coach and if you're specifically doing basketball or football, I don't know what advice I have for you right now. My advice is really more for anybody who's doing even speed-based training. We do it right here. I do it right here in my living room just to move this. I do it right here. I just set up a spot and I do my training. Thankfully, we work with a lot of our kids now. They know the stuff that we're doing. And we just make the most of it. The kids are getting great workouts. I can actually watch them getting better. Just working with the K-bands, working with the loop bands, doing their wall drills. So I'd say like if you're a sport coach right now, consider reaching out to your clients about doing some speed and strength training. If you have some experience with it and you feel comfortable doing it, they may be interested. What I found is we had a lot of clients that were very, very interested in keeping going. Some of it was loyalty. They're like, Coach, we want to keep working with you. But a lot of it is our kids are really motivated to continue working out, and our parents see the benefit in that.
So what recommendations would you have for athletes? Obviously there are a lot of athletes that aren't working with you right now. They probably should be. But if they aren't and they want to figure out, all right, I'm at home. I have maybe limited amount of space and or equipment. Like, Coach, how do I still work out? What would you say to those athletes?
Well, I would tell them that there are plenty of things you can do to get stronger, to get faster, to improve your conditioning with almost no space and almost no equipment. And, I'll throw out a few things in particular I would recommend kids to do. For speed stuff, I'd be recommending just finding some space right along a wall and doing your wall mechanics drills. We call them our wall drills. There are several drills that you can do that are going to improve the stability of your hip, focus on dorsiflexion in your ankle, right? And they're going to actually really improve your explosiveness and agility and your strength. So something as simple as putting your pressure up against the wall and working on your drive. And there's several drills like that you could probably look up. If you put in wall speed drills on YouTube, I bet you guys will find plenty of things. As far as other
So
exercises,
I'm writing
yep.
some of this down, man. Some good advice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a few pieces of equipment that aren't crazy expensive that can also be a really good asset. Loop bands in general are a great one. These loop bands are a small little band right here that go around your ankles that create tension. With that, you can do your banded high knee drive, where you're stepping on the band and driving your knee up in the air to really work on that explosiveness. It's pretty similar to wall drill. So if you have the wall, you can do that. But you can also use the band for lateral band walking to improve your lateral speed, the stability in your hip, moving laterally. And then as far as strength training, we have our high school group who's used to lifting quite a bit of weight, squatting, deadlifting, benching. They feel they're getting stronger in our it's 3 days a week of full body workouts. We just happen to give them intense exercises to do. So I'll shoot a few exercises out that I recommend. Any jumping based exercise for kids is going to be, and for athletes in particular, are going to be a great way to develop athletic ability, right? Great way to develop your jumping.
I agree.
But it's also a great way to develop strength. When you start doing jumping exercises, it requires you put your maximal force through the ground, hopefully dispersing that energy throughout your body, right? Kinesthetics, and really working on your explosiveness. So we're doing a lot of form jumps and lunge jumps. So both of those I highly recommend. Form jumps, great way to develop that vertical for our basketball players, but it's also a great way of just developing leg strength. Form jumps require you to get up in the air as quickly as you can, staying tensed on your toes, heels off the ground. So it's not like squat jumps at all. Squat jumps are a good exercise, good exercise, but not as much for athletes as form jumps, in my opinion. So we really recommend form jumps, and lunge jumps can be really, really tough. You get kids doing lunge jumps, but if you just throw it up on YouTube, you might not see the lunge jumps that we want. We want lunge jumps where the kids are actually in a lunge position, jumping as explosively as they can in the air, and then in the air, shifting their legs.
Switch it.
Yeah. So it's a much different exercise than what you'll see a lot of people at the gym doing, a lot of older people at the gym, but even people my age and younger, where they're just basically shifting from one lunge position to the other. Again, it's great for your legs, totally for that workout, but as far as athletic function, we recommend lunge jumps. From there, kids can work on their core. They know what to do with a lot of times with plank, leg raises, windshield wipers. The new exercise that we've been doing in 2020 for our kids has been one arm planks. And people are always like, oh yeah, side planks, side planks. It's not side planks. It's a regular plank, but instead of being on both forearms, you're on one. And we like it a lot because we notice that our kids can do planks usually for 2 to 3 minutes. And what happens is they get to about a minute and a half, and actually the thing that hurts them the most are their shoulders. So yeah, it's great that it's working on your shoulder stability, but for us, we really want to hit the core a lot, because we do a lot of stuff with the shoulders. Push-ups are a great exercise. You guys know your push-ups, your dips. Just make sure with push-ups, you guys are getting chest to ground. Don't worry about doing 50 in a row. Just try to hit 10 really clean push-ups.
Do them the right way, kids.
Exactly.
Do them the right way.
Yes. Exactly. So these are the kind of things that we recommend. And I try to make sure people know, like, even kids who don't train with me, have reached out and been like, well, what kind of stuff should I do? And I actually start to give them recommendations. Sure, one day and maybe even soon we'll sell some programs for people who want to follow something that's very exact with videos. But for the most part, we provide these workouts, no cost, because in the end, the goal of the company is to see athletes reach their highest peak. That's actually where the top of the A in this in my logo comes in. This was supposed to be the top. This was supposed to be the top of a mountain. So so in the BAT, that's the way I foresaw it, that it wouldn't just say BAT, it would actually have a mountain in the middle.
Nice. Okay, it's your apex. It's the athlete's apex. Yeah, yep. I love that, man. I love that. And you have some good advice. Obviously, man. That's why you're such a great coach, well respected. And again, you give athletes, you give them a chance to, really improve even during this time. Um, which is, I know, obviously for the player it's great, but also for the parent it's nice to know, like, hey, like this guy is going above and beyond, going out of his way to get in front of the athletes and help the athletes. So any parents out there, especially in the Boston area, if you're looking for a way to get the kids out of your hair and make sure they're not going crazy, BAT is where you want to be. So I love that, man. And any parents out there, if your kids are jumping around and making a lot of noise, it's probably a good thing, because you're probably that kid's probably working his tail off, jumping and doing these exercises that Coach
Yeah.
Andler has. So
Oh
I love
yeah.
that, man. I love it. So let's
Yeah.
let's get into the personal side of things
All right.
for a little bit. You know, I like to ask, if you weren't coaching, what would you be doing? And I think you hit on it a little bit. So I'm actually going to exclude the athletic director side of things. If you were out of sports completely,
No athletics,
you
no
know,
training, no
nothing. I
nothing.
know it's hard to,
Oh man,
hard to think about life without it. But what would you be doing?
I don't know, medical studies. I don't know. I don't know. No, growing up, I guess I wanted to do the typical, young boy's dreams, especially growing up in the '90s. I wanted to be I wanted to be a fireman at one point. I thought that would have been
Okay.
really cool. I considered briefly maybe joining like the Marines or something. Um, I, you know, Other than that,
It's always been sports, man.
no, I think other than that, there's a decent chance I would have ended up at a bottling company in the Massachusetts area. So there's actually Andler Bottle Company,
Oh,
Andler Bottling Company. Actually, so it's in the family, and they work with packaging for different companies. So I think there's a decent chance I could have worked with them just because it's in the
yeah,
family. So
yeah, yeah.
if I wasn't a fireman, I wasn't a Marines, I had no sports option, I'd probably be in bottling.
Hey, it's good to have options, man. So
For, for,
I love to hear that.
for
Cool, man.
sure.
What besides sports, again, taking that out,
hmm
what are some things that you are interested in currently? What's some things that
So,
maybe just, get your mind thinking a little bit?
well, the most recent thing would be just stock market, to be honest with you. Never really paid too much attention to it. And I don't know, just piqued my interest as something to follow, something that has real life implications. Me and my buddy laugh about it all the time because, yeah, I put a little bit of money in the market, nothing crazy, but it just feels like I'm following these companies like it's like fantasy football. So for me,
Yeah,
that has me laughing because it's like, I pick them up. What's a good value? How are they going to perform? But
off
for
the
me,
waiver wire, baby.
so we're making jokes all the time about it. But it's funny because it's like that, but it has real world implications. You're
Right.
talking about, oh, I wonder how this company's doing, and are they
Hmm.
performing for me? Are they doing well for me? Did I win this week? No, I guess I lost. Dang.
Hmm.
So the stock market's the most recent one, but in general, I'm a big outdoors guy. I like hiking a lot. I've gone on a few hikes since the quarantine began, so I recommend that for everybody. I try to get the kids to do that. I have a lot of kids, whether they live near the city or anything else. They're like, yeah, it's just hiking. I was like, why don't you guys give it a try? And I'm really into that. And 2 years ago, we actually did a Blue Hills Day with the kids. We did that again last year, so I'm trying to influence a little bit and give them a few different things to try out in life instead of just doing school, football, and food.
Yeah, yeah, and get away. And during this time, again, like even I do the same thing. My wife and I, we go for walks when it's nice. Just
Yeah,
to get a different environment, just to get some fresh air. Like
yeah,
I'm a huge believer in fresh air and sun will completely change your life. Like I'm
all
a
right.
totally different person when it's sunny and warm as opposed to when it's cold and gloomy.
Yeah,
Like a complete switch.
yeah,
So I know for anyone, regardless if you're young or old, get out there, walk around, move a little bit. I'm sure your body needs it. We all do. And if you can get a little sun on a nice day, I mean, it's springtime now. It's going to be summer pretty soon. Like,
yeah,
get out, get some fresh air, get a different environment. You'd be surprised how much happier you will be.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can focus on what you can't do, or you can focus on what you can do, right? So you can still do a lot of things in this environment. Obviously, your parents got to okay it, but maybe they'll be okay with taking you on a little road trip somewhere an hour or two out of the city and find a quiet trail. Like I think it was 2 weeks ago I went. It was just me and my buddy. We try to keep some distance between us, but it was just me and my buddy, and we went on a trail. And I think we saw 6 people in 4 hours. I mean,
Wow.
you're not really seeing a lot of people. Plus, you're outdoors, so we loved it. We had a blast. It was just really nice. So, hiking, stock market. Those are my two things right now that I'm trying to do more of, or at least that are keeping me busy. Besides for training, which is keeping me really, really busy. So,
So, all right. So let's talk about your training, right? Every coach, every trainer has I feel a certain philosophy, a certain way of how they do things, a why of why they do things. So talk about your coaching philosophy for BAT.
yeah, for sure. This is the kind of stuff I love to talk about. It's like why you do what you do, and what is your method? How does it work? And you'll definitely see a lot of things converge between different coaches, like positive thinking, stuff like that. But I'll go through mine. For me, when it comes to the actual training, I always say form first. So whether you're trying to get better with your skills, trying to get better with speed or strength, you need to start at the most basic level. And this actually is something that I do, and I apply to kids as old as college athletes and even older. So like when people come in, we treat them like, hey, this is going to be what you're doing today. It's the most basic stuff. We're going to get that evaluation. So for us, it's form first. Um, you know, this this idea that you're going to get better when you start by looking at the ground floor, and then build up. Uh, we also are big in positive thinking. This one though is key for success. So hopefully later we'll talk about maybe some of the things that we believe are like key to athletes taking their game to the next level or to the highest level they can. It's for sure positive thinking. Um, when you start to have that self-doubt and you don't think positively with regards to your training and also your athletic career, you're probably going to struggle to succeed. It's hard to succeed when you are doubting yourself that much. And then having a mentality, the coaching philosophy of BAT is always on the grind. We say that all the time with our kids. The kids
Love
say
that.
that like it's a mantra. It's always on the grind. We're always working. We're always trying to get better. And our coaching philosophy is that that's the way to success, not just with your athletics, but really in anything in life. It's very hard to be successful when you don't really put your best foot forward and you don't keep working at it.
Mm-hmm. Good. I mean, every coach is unique, and clearly what you do works. And I love the fact that you take your focus of training the athlete, in the gym or in the weight room, but then you try to apply that to their life, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to have way more life after you than they have with you. So, and especially when you have them at such a young age. I mean, most of your athletes are what, under 21, under 18, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so the fact that you're able to take them, you're able to mold them, you're able to work with them, you're able to shape kind of how they think. And let's be honest, a lot of athletes will not go on to play professional sports. It's not going to be their livelihood, right? And the fact that you're able to take them, mold them, teach them ways of how to just become a better person, how to work harder, how to think smarter, how to plan, how to have a goal and how to work towards that goal. That's something that, it's very important. And I think is something that they'll have with them way longer than a vertical jump or a fast 40,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. It's really a big part of why I'm doing this and why I put as much into it as I do. As we already talked about, sure, the business part is important. I got to be able to make a living and take care of my family. But reality is, there are other ways to do that. And for me, the fact that this is so beneficial to kids. And I get so much appreciation from the parents and the athletes. And then I see how it helps them. And then they tell me about it. And then I keep these relationships. It's what makes me love what I do. It makes it worth it, to be quite honest with you. It's what makes it
Yeah.
worth it the most.
Yeah. Awesome. What separates you from other coaches out there?
What separates me is, and what separates BAT is, we have, well, for me particularly, I've spent time in all different facets with training. So, there are definitely trainers out there that come from the perspective of playing at a really high level and can give you their experiences with that, how they train to do that, and that's it's amazing. To be honest, I don't have that. Other people come from the perspective of having coached. So you'll see coaches that are also trainers. They might have coached for 25 years, which would be a great trainer. Well, for me, it's really the combination. So it started out with me having an interest, being an athlete in high school, but again, as we talked about, limited career with injuries. But as a result, I started coaching and started looking at that side of things from a very early age. I was actually really interested in training to some degree even when I was a teenager. I used to train my buddies a little bit. Like I was training one of my kids how to play football. He's one of my best friends. He's a little older than me. I'd say one of my kids. So I've always been interested in that. But like I said, I think what separates me, long way of getting to it, is that I have experience in all the different facets related to training, coaching. So I coached football for 13 years. I was an athlete. I did train myself. Like I learned these drills. I went to school to learn about the body. As a football coach, I also work with like every position. So at one point or another, I started with the offensive line. I worked with linebackers, which I played a little bit again before I got hurt. I've worked with receivers. I've worked with DBs. So I work with everybody. And now I'm a special teams coach. So you start to get the perspective of a coach who's worked with different positions, who's also spent time training all those positions, learning the positions, learning a lot more about speed training, which is actually one of the things people hire us for the most now. So I think what separates us is that, for me in particular, I've really tried to make it a point to learn these different skill sets. And then we can translate that into our training. So when a soccer player comes to work with us, and they usually come for, to get faster, right, to improve their conditioning, we might find that one of the reasons they're not getting as much out of their speed training, even though they're working on their sprints, is because truthfully, they're not strong enough and the drive in their leg is not there. And so we put them on a program of lifting on their own once we teach them if they don't know. So it's just having that background and understanding, because I went to school, because I also did it myself, because I also coach and do all these things, it is unique. And people seem to recognize that and seem to be getting a lot out of it, which is great.
Yep. Good, man. And you work with, obviously, football players, basketball. You mentioned soccer. What other sports do you work with?
Yeah, so our two main sports are basketball and football. Football and basketball. I like football more.
Put that first. Nice.
But no, we actually, the most amount of athletes in any sport is basketball. We have a lot of basketball players of all different ages. We get kids as young as 7 all the way up to 21 and older sometimes. Football players, primarily, it's our strongest facet is our high school division. That's the one we have really training basically year round. But ever since we started more of this speed and strength training, and I got my brother on board, Coach Ellie, we started working a lot with athletes and from various sports. I mean, we have skiers, baseball players, hockey players, lacrosse players, field hockey players, pretty much any sport you could think of.
Anything.
Yeah, anything that involves some athletic ability.
Anything with a stick or a ball or a skate, anything.
Volleyball. I mean, anything really.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's where I think the business has grown and shows the ability to, be a staple in the community, is the fact that we're not limited to one sport, one position, or even two sports. Speed and agility, strength training, it's such a crucial part of training, right? That
Yep.
it applies to everybody. And so I actually think that that alone is one of the biggest reasons we've grown so much, is that mass appeal to all these different sports.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, and you're not going to find myself. You're not going to find a bigger advocate for speed and agility, right? Just overall improvement of the athlete, because you mention it, and I always stress it. You got to be a good athlete, right? You got to be really good at stopping, starting, moving laterally, jumping, sprinting, everything. Because if you're good at those things, guess what? You have a better chance at whatever sport you end up playing. And I was a kid, and I'm sure you were the same way. Played a lot of different sports growing up. So, and I think that helped me athletically, knowing, all right, well, what I do well in this sport, let's see if it applies to another sport. If my speed helps me in this sport, maybe it helps me in the other sport. And and it definitely did, and it was something that I applied throughout my career. And I know for younger athletes and coaches like ourselves, you're working with athletes that they really are starting to get the understanding that, hey, me being a better athlete is going to help me overall. It's not just going to help me just in baseball or just in football, right? It's going to help me with whatever sport I end up playing. And it's good that you have these kids at a younger age, because they don't learn those bad habits that maybe other players learn, right? They're actually learning the mechanics of how to run, how to stop, how to do these things. So that's very important.
for sure, I'll go on that. Is that we even notice the difference between kids who start between 14 and 15 that start at 17, 18. There's a huge difference. To be honest with you, kids who start at 14, 15 who have horrible habits, they break them pretty quickly. And you could see them a year later, like especially if you watch them on the ladder, but even watch their sprinting technique and be like, is that the same kid? You take
Right.
a 17-year-old, and I tell people coming in a lot of times, we're going to work with them. We could probably help them get faster. The truth is there's limitations, and I don't mean to say it in a way where if you're 17 and you're like, hey, I need to run a 4.740 because that's where how I'm going to get into college, or how I'm going to get a scholarship, and you run a 5.1 today. I'm not going to say you can't get it down. I'm just going to say you better get started now. It's a lot
Hmm.
harder, and it's a lot harder to break those habits, especially when you talk about like essentially kinesthetics, movement, right? Body mechanics. These things are harder and harder to break as you get older. When I work with adults, oh God, it's really, really hard, really hard. But we still work with them, and you can make improvements, but they are limited. Whereas
Yeah.
when you work with your 13, 14, and even up to like 15 years old, they can totally break those habits,
Hmm.
and their level of improvement can just be so dramatic. And I think people struggle to understand that because they see kids as they are. And I think one thing with me and the company is we see things as they can be, or they could
Yes.
be.
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest things is, when I said positive thinking as far as a philosophy, it's this idea of, it's not where you're at today, it's where you're going. And if you think positively and where you can be, I had a kid yesterday. He hadn't trained with me for 2 months. He was injured. So his first day, and you could see he was getting discouraged. Great kid, Trucks,
Hmm.
and
Shout out.
shout out to Drux. And he was just like, it's terrible. I was like, it's all good. It's where we're going. It's your first day back, and he's got a good attitude. He's like, I get you, coach. I get you, coach. But it really is. It's key. So
That's a beautiful, beautiful part about it as well. The fact that you're really a mentor to these athletes, to the kids, right? I hate to just say athletes. I mean, because at the end of the day, they're
yeah,
children, they're kids, they're young adults, and you're a mentor to them. You're able to give them life advice. Coaches like ourselves, we're able to, hopefully, if you're really good at it, and I think you're a really good coach. I know you personally, and I would imagine that you have a really strong relationship with these young children, these young adults, to where they trust you, they believe in you, and if you're like, hey, stay positive, think
right.
about what it's like what it's going to be like a month from now or a year from now.
Right.
Like, just keep working hard. They're going to listen to you because they
Yeah.
respect you. They know you're not just blowing smoke, and they know that
Right.
you ultimately care about them as a person.
And yeah, it is. It's a big factor, especially with our high school kids, because we get it a lot. We had new kids coming into the program this year. We had a pretty big turnover from the last year or two. We've had like 5 or 6 of our high schoolers, move on and either are finishing out school now and didn't play, or graduated to college last year. A couple of our guys went to go play college football. And we had these new kids come in, and every kid's a little different, and some kids are harder on themselves than others, and we really try to work with them on that. And some of it's a struggle. Some of it will be like an ongoing thing where it's like, Coach, why am I not seeing this progress? Why am I not seeing these gains? They always want these gains because we're always talking about gains.
All about the gains,
In
baby.
season, right? But
It's more
we
to
try
it
to.
than that.
Yeah, it's more to it than that, and they usually are very short. They look at in the short term, and I always
Right.
challenge my kids. Can you start to look in the long term? What I told the kid yesterday is my best advice to you, I really believe, is I don't want you to think about how you need to develop or what you should be doing. No, I mean, you got to think about what you're doing in the short term, but I don't want you to think 3 to 6 months. I want you to start to think 12 months and beyond, because where you're at now is a place of he keeps getting injured and he needs to think long term. How do I break that cycle, right? How do I then get right and start training hard and then getting ready for that next level play, which for him would be the following season? It seems a little counter, but in his situation, it's very important. And so I want kids to focus on working hard every day, sure, but I challenge them to be a little bit more mature in their thinking, and don't just sell out for thinking the next 3 to 6 months are going to decide what happens with my life, because we're a little bit older than that. We could be the first one to tell them it surely will not. It's not that it's not important. It's this kid's a 9th grader. He's going to be in 10th grade next season. He's like, should I worry if I'm not playing varsity next year? You're good. You're good.
Yeah. Stay patient, right? And like you
Yeah,
said, think about the long run.
right, and that's what I'm trying to get them on. Even with like what position they're going to play, it's such a big thing because like today they might be playing this position, but I'm looking at their body type and I'm like, unless your dad is somebody that I don't know, that you're going to be this big, you should be thinking
Right.
about this position completely now. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um. So yeah.
Yeah. Good, man. So let's get on the personal side. You're a married man, right? 2
Yep.
years married.
Yep.
What are some of your interests outside of athletics?
Besides for hiking and the stock market, I mean, my interest besides for those things would be traveling. That's my biggest passion right there. Besides for training, I think traveling. I love traveling with my wife. We were supposed to take a trip at the beginning of April that unfortunately got canceled, just like most people's travel plans.
Correct.
We were gonna go to Cuba, and I was all excited about that.
Oh, nice, man.
So traveling's like my biggest passion. It's a great way to learn about the world, gain perspective, learn about yourself, grow, and have fun, right? Have new experiences.
Yep.
So travel for me is one I could spend hours talking about the value of it, the trips that I've taken. But yeah, it's definitely my biggest
That's a good
passion.
one. That's a good one. Give me and the audience one TV recommendation that you have. And I want you. Must be a show you are currently watching. How about that?
Currently watching, I'd say Fauda, a show called Fauda.
Fauda. I haven't heard that on Netflix.
Yeah, it's probably best if you're 18 or older, but
Okay.
Fauda is about Middle East, the Middle East. It's a counterterrorism unit in Israel, so it's interesting to me.
Nice. Good, man. All right, let's get into now our rapid fire segment. These questions you're going to have only 10 seconds to answer. So first thing you think of, shoot it out, and we'll go from there. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So first question: Who will have more wins in 2020? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the New England Patriots?
The Buccaneers.
Oh, aren't you a Patriots fan?
I am, but I
But
think
you're a
Brady
realist.
and I think they're going to win 10 or 11 games, and I don't think we are.
All right, this is one that I literally just thought of. If you had to choose one, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? You only got 10 seconds, man.
Bill Belichick. Bill
Wow.
Belichick. I got to go with the
I'm
coach.
definitely going to use that. I'm definitely going to
That's
use
a
that.
tough one. I feel like I can't go against the coach, man.
You can't. I like it. I like it. You can't go wrong either way. So good. Um, what's your favorite genre of music?
um, Favorite genre of music? I like alternative rock. That's my
Nice.
favorite. Yeah,
Okay.
I like a
Who's your
lot of
favorite
music
band?
though.
Who's your favorite band
Uh,
currently?
Favorite band currently? Haven't been listening to so much music recently. I don't have a favorite current band because I'm just listening to all kinds of music all the time right
Favorite
now.
in general. Favorite
Yeah,
or one of your favorites. I'll make it easy.
I give a shout out to Frank Sinatra. That's my guy right there. My
Frank,
favorite.
huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I like a lot of the old classics. Frank.
Dude, I'm
I do
with
like.
you.
I
I'm
like
with
Billy
you.
Joel. I like Elton John.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll mess around with the Beatles a little bit. I like to think I'm pretty eclectic with my music because I also do like rap. So we got a few guys. I used to listen to Eminem a lot growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not
we're a part of
atypical,
that
but
generation, man. Trust me.
yeah,
I
exactly.
know.
So yeah, I like a lot of different things, but
Good.
right now, yeah, a lot of alternative music and then a little electronica here and there if I'm trying to stay in the zone.
Yeah. Good, man. That's cool. That's cool. Uh, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how weird are you?
8 point weird.
8 point weird. That was a good
8 point
answer.
weird. Yep, that's me.
Okay.
Yep,
That
I'm
good.
definitely
Good.
weird. Yep.
We're all a little weird, man. If you're
Yeah,
not weird, then there's
I
something wrong
embrace
with you.
it. I embrace. I always have because I was always considered like funny. I was the funny guy in school, and I felt
Good.
like being a little weird and funky about it was what people really found
Yeah.
amusing and funny.
People
And I
remember
like
you better that way.
I like making people laugh.
Good. 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 Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Nike. Okay.
Yep.
What's your favorite place to eat in Boston?
I would say buttermilk and bourbon.
Buttermilk and bourbon.
Bourbon.
I've never been there.
Buttermilk and bourbon is just amazing. Southern style food, really, really good chef. He has a couple of other restaurants in the area. It's all like tapa style, so even though
Mhm.
it's Southern style, best biscuits you could ever eat, at least in the north.
There you go.
They are that good though, because I've been down south and these biscuits are incredible. Really,
They need to
really good Southern
sponsor. They need to
biscuits too.
sponsor Boston athletic training,
I
man.
know,
It's
I
a nice
know. Buttermilk
little
and
little shout out.
bourbon. Well, we got some other good restaurants out here. I guess some
You
people
do.
complain about it, but the truth is there's a lot of good options, and there
Listen,
continues to be more that come out.
listen. And maybe you're speaking just about Boston, but I know when Chloe and I, my wife, we were um, in Rhode Island, there were more than enough really
Yeah,
good food options.
yep, yep.
So, and I miss the seafood, man. I really do.
Yeah,
I miss the
exactly.
seafood. Can't have seafood in the Midwest. It's not the same. All right, next question. Who's a better player, Ezekiel Elliott or Christian McCaffrey?
Christian McCaffrey.
Why? Because he got paid more recently?
No, no, no. I actually really like Ezekiel Elliott. I'm very behind him. I think that in today's NFL, Christian McCaffrey is a better player. I think 10 years ago and before, Ezekiel Elliott would be the better player. I just think
Right.
with passing being so involved in football, that added feature that he has. I mean, I watch Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's a better pure downhill runner. Certainly, in my opinion, better between the tackles. Some people just think Christian McCaffrey is just unbelievable. For me, it's just because he's that dual threat and he is
Yeah.
that good as a receiver.
Yeah, he
It's
is.
just so in today's NFL with the balanced attack, having that as an extra weapon means in a game where you play against a team that can stop the run pretty well, which Dallas has faced, and I've seen it take away Zeke's effectiveness. Whereas with Christian McCaffrey, feels like he can dominate any game.
Feels like there's 4 of them out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But pure running back, and back in the day, Zeke would have him roasted, in my opinion.
So you just gave me 2 answers.
Yeah, I know. Christian McCaffrey is a better running back today. Christian McCaffrey is a better one today.
Okay, good. I would agree. You're a traveling man. You mentioned that. If you had one plane ticket anywhere in the world, where would you go?
The Big Island, Hawaii.
Hawaii? Really? Have you been?
Yeah, several times.
It's expensive, man.
It is, but the Big Island's not bad. That's why I said the Big Island. The Big Island is a lot less touristy. I actually spent 4.5 months there doing a semester, and
wow,
it wasn't that expensive in that area. You can get a house out in that area for like $150,000, so it's much cheaper than the rest of Hawaii. Yeah.
Wow, nice. Okay. Man,
I'm giving you a hint into my retirement plans.
Yeah. I'm picking it up. I'm on the same thing. What is something that you are afraid of?
Heights.
You're like
I don't like heights.
4th person that has told me that. Heights.
It's just
no one likes heights.
I'm more scared of that than anything.
All right. If you had one superhero power, what would it be?
Flying.
You want to fly?
Yeah.
You want to fly? Or you want to be able to glide? Like, because Batman is a glider, really.
No,
Superman is a flyer. You want to fly?
I want to fly. Flying is cool.
Okay. Fast or slow? But you are afraid of heights, so how does that work?
Well, you don't have to fly that high. You can fly like 10 feet above the ground.
That's very true. That's a good
right
point.
Over the car. Right over the
Smart
cars,
man.
I can go on the highway. I don't have to go too crazy.
Yep, keep it low, man.
Yeah, low flying, low speed limit.
You can get to your trainings much faster that way.
Oh my God, yeah, but how do I get my equipment there? That's my biggest problem.
That's true. All right, lastly, what is the most precious possession in your life?
My wife. That's a terrible possession.
I know, that's why. Look, she'll take it as a compliment.
She'll take it as a compliment. If I have to choose an item, my most precious possession, here, I'll give you a better one, my ring.
There you go. Your wedding band.
That's mine. Yeah.
There you go. Nice, man.
All the same, right?
Good. Well, there you have it, man. Coach Andler, Boston Athletic Training. I will say, man, you're doing great things in the community. You are helping these athletes more than they will ever know, to be honest.
Appreciate
so I appreciate you coming on, man. And if people want to check you out more, whether that's social media, online, whatever it may be, where can they find you?
A couple of main things you guys can check out. The Boston Athletic Training. It's our Instagram handle. We keep it pretty simple with our social media as far as people finding us. Instagram, Boston Athletic Training, or you can go to bostonathletictraining.com. We have our site. Fills pretty much gives you a little bit about all of our different programs. Allows you to sign up, try out do a trial session with us, kind of give you a little experience what we're doing. And then on YouTube, Boston Athletic Training, we do have a channel. Still working on kind of get more and more content, but we do have hundreds of videos out there. So that'd be a good way to start to learn some of these exercises.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good, man. Well, I appreciate it again. I thank you. And this is a great interview, man. You did a wonderful job. And next time Chloe and I were out in Boston, we'll maybe go to, what's it, Bourbon and Biscuits?
Bourbon and Biscuits. But Bourbon and Biscuits sounds good right about now.
Oh, that's not the name?
Buttermilk and Bourbon.
Buttermilk and Bourbon. I'm going to add another B. Buttermilk, Bourbon, and Biscuits.
Buttermilk, Bourbon, and Biscuits. That sounds good.
At first, they loved us. Now they hate us because we messed up their name.
Yeah, exactly, right? People are thinking it's all about bourbon.
Right. Okay, cool, man. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it, and we'll have to do this again.
For sure.
All right, buddy. Be good, man.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, brother. All right, have a good one. Bye.
You too.